Hello, ladies and gents. Good afternoon, and welcome back. It's been a little while since the last video, so I've done some Warcraft 3. Obviously, I wanted to do some world editor stuff, and we were gonna make a map. I was gonna call it Settlement Survival, but then I thought, well, it's a very big project, you know. Let's try to do something a little smaller, something we can get off the ground. So let's go with this initial cliff level. I want to actually have a little high, like 5. Kind of keep it normal. We're going to build a very unique map. Alright, so you've probably seen a lot of things. Let me fix a few things here. So first thing you might want to turn off is the lighting. Then you want to go into grid and probably click either large, or if it really annoys you, you can just click none. And unless you really think you need the grid, you can turn on small, if you need to be precise. Precision isn't everything, I say. If the whole map were if maps were precisely made, you can imagine what it would be like. So let's go into player map description. Remember, you should always come here first. We're going to call this Wall Tower Defense. Suggested players, we're going to have it set so that it can be anywhere from 1 to 4 people. A decent tower defense map. Obviously, the author would be your name, and since it's going to be I'm the one making it, I will put it myself as author. This is what you make your author. This would be the map maker. Tells you if you need an expansion, the map version, saved with editor version. Obviously, this doesn't have a version yet, so let's just call this 0.1. A decent tower defense map. Where the goal is to make sure that the enemy doesn't get to the goal. Let's make sure the enemy doesn't get through your maze. Gotta love it when things like to be annoying. So, we're back. So back to where I was going to be. The size and camera balance, I'm actually going to make sure this is where it needs to be. As you can see, I'm going to extend it all the way out. So it's played in the whole map area, basically, giving me plenty of space. Next, what we are going to do is I'm going to show you the terrain palette. I'm going to show you how to work with terrain. The first thing, order of business. I'm first going to bring this down so we have a nice big map here area, right here, as you can see. Remember, you can use arrows to move around, as I told you before. We're going to go into the tile set. I want to change it. The base tile set I want to use is Cityscape. But I also want to use stuff from, I believe... Let's take a look at Lordaeron Fall, because I always loved the fall terrain, so... Dirt. Right, let's go to Lordaeron Fall then. And we'll open up Cityscape because I want to use some of these tiles. Obviously we need dirt. I don't need rough dirt, but I will take grassy dirt. The rock's okay, the grass and dirt grass is fine. And I'm going to add white marble, brick. Ooh, bless me. And we don't need square tiles, obviously, but I will add also black marble. I want various marble. This will make it easy to identify where you know where things would be. So let's hit OK. You can choose the way it's going to be. You can make blight, obviously, an undead form. You know, the undead use blight, so you can produce blight. You know, the brush size is right here, circle or square. So I could have a huge circle, a large, medium. I can apply boundaries, and I can remove boundaries. I can also choose dirt or grass cliffs. Now, by the way, one thing I didn't tell you is that, so we have grass and we have dirt cliffs, obviously. If we go back to the, say, cityscape, or maybe Delarn, there's also Delarn and Delarn ruins. Let's go into Delarn. So, like this, for example, is a cliff tile. Red means it's cliff, blue means it's unbuildable. I figured that out. May not be added, removed, or replaced. So I'm going to modify our tile set again. I want to use Delarn. We're just going to stick to Delarn. Delarn's a good tile set for any situation. You can see the light kind of changed on us. It's no longer as bright as it once was. But if you like a nice bright map, you don't even have to use triggers for that. Because if you go into scenario preferences, or rather it's options, I guess I should say, you can use terrain, fog, and you could set your own fog. You know, all kinds of things. You could change the loading screen. We're not going to do that yet right away. So I want to build tiled cliffs. In fact, I want the whole map to basically be. Now, of course, unbuildable stuff you can set up in the, obviously, I'm going to show you a second, in the object editor when we make our towers. Which we'll probably be using stuff from the Elven, you know, like the Blood Elves. The Scout Tower, for example, it has to be placed on buildable. But I can change it so that it could be on other things. So, for example, placement prevented by, you know, I could change it so that it could be built on buildable. Don't know if you have to use triggers per se for that, but yeah. One thing I like to use of load around fall. Sometimes. Excuse me. I am actually going to add the sand tile because I want it. And let's see. So you can see I can also apply height. So like a bigger thing obviously would apply more height. So you can make hills in the game. These hills really don't obstruct much. You can put stuff on them, buildings. Let's go into a square. I can lower. I can make a plateau. We can apply noise. This makes rough hills, so if you like a really rough terrain. Or of course we can smooth it out. Basically, plateau would be your way to make it so it's all the same terrain, which is what we're probably going to do, with the exception of using cliffs. Whoops. So as you can see, very easy to place. Whoops. I have I'm actually going to go into this. So now there is a method I can utilize. So I'm going to show you how to easily cover the terrain. So if you're trying to make a TD unique, which is what we're going to do, we're going to utilize cliff. First, take this, go outside the map a bit. Helps to have this selected. Same terrain, obviously. Now what you do is this, and basically you're just going to zoom out. Now, forgive me if it lags a little. You can see all I got to do is this. Simple indeed. Alright, so yes, I know we've just increased the terrain exponentially, but there's a reason. There is a reason for this. Is the reason I wanted it to start this low was so I could show you this for one reason. I figured if I started with something a little different, it would be easier. Let's lower the terrain size. So I'm going to take care of this, and then I'll be back. Alright, welcome back. Oops, that's the campaign editor, don't need that. Alright, so another thing I forgot to show you about terrain is that you can, when you're, see, I can drag, if I put my cursor at the bottom of the screen, will basically paving the land. So the whole map is now set up the way I want. So let's come, I like to do this corner. A little smaller, we're going to drop it down 2 levels. This is going to be the start area, so we're going to turn this into grass trim. Oops. Well, let's take a look at the different terrains. Do grass, what else? I chose to have sand. I don't know if I like that anymore. I know that tile. Of course, there's also rough dirt. Tricky, huh, guys? Let's see. Let's take a look at some of these we have here. Leaves. We could try leaves instead. So let's remove and add leaves. Now just open it and reload, I think, is all you really gotta do. Yeah, so the difference is that basically rough dirt and dirt. You know, simple thing. Of course, you also have your selection brush here, so you can also choose the brush here. 1, 2, 3, 5, and 8. Can randomly, I don't really like doodads randomly rotated, so I'm going to turn that off. Now, of course, it's symmetric, so of course it's going to randomly scale doodads, but you don't have to. You could do asymmetric, you could have it by the z-axis only, xy-axis only, you know, depending on what you want to do. So, if you want scale, obviously being how tall or basically how big something is. Of course, we can adjust things, say, for example, the height change, but I'm not gonna. I can adjust cliff levels. Oh, yeah. I can also replace tiles. You can replace a cliff type. So, like, for example, the Lauren, you can swap them. You can replace doodads. So, old doodad to new doodad, you know. Replacing things on the map is what that does. Even units. And they can be custom. Not that there's really anything in custom right now. Alright, so let's exit that for the time being. Let's replace. Okay, I may have clicked cancel. New palette terrain. And you can actually open up, I could easily open up a second palette. Let me drag that down, you can see. So I could say I have one palette on this side and one on this side when I'm working on my map, and I could switch between them. depending on what I'm doing. Or basically, I could say have doodad and terrains open, so, or regions for one. We'll have to do that soon enough. Well, leaves aren't half bad, are they, guys? I like that. I like the way the leaves look. So now what we're going to do is create trails. So the first area here... Oh, we got to make sure it's at least this big or the trail won't work very well, I think. And I think I should probably try to make the trails look somewhat nice and usable for players. So we'll make the first trail a bit wide. This is the main trail. Now later on we can add different game modes and stuff to make the map more interesting. But for now we're going to start stuff simple, Keep things easy. And this is basically what you do when you're doing the terrain, You got to start somewhere. You might as well start with this. So the first thing you do is all guys will come down. The goal obviously is to survive as long as you can. Those mistakes happen, but they are easily fixed. Of course, when that happens. So I want a nice big little... This is going to be where you probably build. There we go. Very open, as you can see. Now this area I'm going to set up as a tower area. You can build some towers up here as well. It is where you will continue along over here. But it's also going to be a slightly... I'm just going to use grass up here. I like leaves, but I gotta have some grass too. So this is when we start coming up here. Oops. So I think what I'm going to do is have that as 3 blocks. And I'm going to work this all the way up a bit. Up somewhat. So I will see you when I have finished some of the terrain, and I'll show you how it looks. Okay? See you in a bit.